Alternative Radio.
Texas History Lessons presents an occasional daily dose of Texas history with your host, Michael.
On April 25th, 1875, 3 Black Seminole Scouts performed acts of bravery that earned them the Medal of Honor. Now, if you want a little bit more information on the history of the Black Seminoles and the Black Seminole Scouts, then go check out the full episode I did a while back on Johanna July and the Black Seminoles. While it's not as complete as I'd hope it would be, it's going to be more than I can offer you in this little daily dose of Texas history. After living in Mexico since 1850, several Black Seminoles crossed the Rio Grande in 1870 back into the United States with hopes of someday returning to Indian territory. With that goal in mind, many of them agreed to serve as scouts in the United States Army, and they quickly gained a reputation for their valor and service as Black Seminole Indian Scouts. Based out of Fort Clark near modern Bracketville, Texas, they participated in regular patrols to watch against property raids by Native Americans. For much of the existence of the Black Seminole Indian Scouts, they were commanded by Lieutenant John L. Bullis, who is quite a character in his own right. One of the scouts, Joseph Phillips, had this to say of Bullis: "That feller suffered just like we did out in the woods. He was a good man, he was an Injun fighter, he was tough. He didn't care how big a bunch they was, he went into 'em every time, but he looked after his men. His men was on equality, too. He didn't stand back and say, 'Go yonder.' He say, 'Come on, boys, let's go get 'em.'" And an example of this is the events that happened on this day. For over a week, Lieutenant Bullis and Black Seminole Scout Sergeant John Ward, Private Pompey Factor, and Trumpeter Isaac Payne had been pursuing a band of, at the time it was believed either Comanche or Apache raiders. Turns out that they were pretty sure it's Comanches, that had stolen a big herd of horses. Now remember, this was after the Black Seminole Scouts had already participated in Mackenzie's Red River War the previous winter. That pretty much led to most of the Kiowas and Comanches settling in Indian territory on their reservation near Fort Sill. Still, some bands did not completely end their raids. 4 days before, April 25th, the 4 men had separated from a larger force that had been tracking the horse thieves. They rode their horses with only a few supplies, and they were armed with Spencer carbines. They followed a trail for 170 miles over 3 days, where they found a fresh trail, and northwest they headed towards Eagle Nest Crossing and reached the Pecos River. There they found the raiders herding the horses across to the west bank of the Pecos. They counted 75 horses and 25 to 30 raiders. So what do you do with a force of 4 against 25 or 30? Well, if you're Lieutenant John Bullis, you attack. Bullis, Ward, Factor, and Payne crawled down the canyon until they were about 75 yards away and opened fire. They held their position for about 45 minutes, and their efforts had started to work. His goal was to break up the horse herd and cause it to where they couldn't get away with them. The Comanches, however, located the position of the 4 men and started to counterattack with goals of outflanking them. Bullis and the scouts realized their danger and started to draw back to their horses. The Comanches were in hot pursuit. Ward, Factor, and Payne were able to get there first and mounted their rides and started withdrawing. But Lieutenant Bullis's horse spooked, and he was stuck there, afoot. Sergeant John Ward, looking back, realized the dire predicament of his commander and he wheeled around to head to the rescue with Isaac Payne and Pompey Factor close behind. While Payne and Factor were laying down cover fire, Ward reached Bullis and pulled him up behind. Ward's carbine stock had been shattered by a bullet just behind the breech during the battle. Bullis was definitely a dead man had they not done this, and the threat was so great that their return could have meant their deaths too. Instead, as the raiders fired on them, all four were able to ride away and escape. For their courage, above and beyond the call of duty at Eagle's Nest Crossing on April 25, 1875, John Ward, Isaac Payne, and Pompey Factor were awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor on May the 28th, 1875.